brothers here, we'll take them, and if not, we see if we have Father Sheikh Uthman.
I just want you to remind the people, if you are doing ruqya for somebody, how you differentiate between if a person has ayn, sihr, or hasad?
طيب. The request is to remind the people on how to make a difference when reciting upon yourself or others between ayn, sihr, and hasad, etc. I would say, humbly, is that oftentimes the three are connected. Oftentimes, all three things are there. A person got sihr placed on them because of envy. And in most cases, people spew their envy on others because of what they see. So oftentimes, there's a connection. Let alone the sahir, waliyadu billah, and the shayateen that he works with or she works with, they're full of envy. That's their fuel. Their octane is envy. Hatred for believers. Hatred for people who have iman. Hatred for those who aren't wretched like they are. That's what they thrive off of, envy. And obviously the easiest way is with the eye. And most people, they see people's blessings and bang. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, of course, there are differences. There's no doubt about that. There are differences. Somebody could have hasad without using their eyes, like someone who's fighting it. I feel some type of way in my heart. I'm a little sore, or whatever culture you come from, tight, salty, wherever you come from. I feel some type of way. But I don't look, I don't stare. Like I said, I don't make funny comments, funny, stupid jokes, let alone say something which is pure out nasty. You ain't this, you think you such and such, you think you such and such. I'm fighting it, but it's in my heart. That's not the same as the one who speaks about it, who talks about it, and he uses his eyes. And or a Muslim, a believer may see something with his eyes without hasad, without trying to be evil, but just like, man, oh wow, that's crazy, dag, oh my God. Man, you got that, you did that, and bang, ayn, by accident. Let alone the fact that some of the symptoms are different while others are the same. There are levels and degrees of sihr, but in general, sihr is much more severe. And ridding it, getting it out of or off of the person in most cases is going to be more severe. And of course, there are general rules with regards to ruqyah from anything that bothers you, as we explained. From all evils, from all eyes, every nafs. And then there's some ruqyah in which is specific for sihr. And of course, that's a fourth entity, which is jinn possession. And there's also a connection between those things as well. So there are things which are parallel, and there are things which are different. There's a general way of making ruqyah, and there's a specific way of making ruqyah, and specific people for ruqyah, like health. You may drink this juice, eat this fruit, eat this vegetable for general good health. It cures many ailments. It prevents many ailments. Versus you have something specific. Something is specifically wrong. Eat this, drink this, do this, so on and so forth. So there are times in which it's the same, and there are times in which they are different. The person in most cases who's going to have the ability to differentiate and to distinguish is someone who has knowledge and experience. But in general, there are ways. The effects of ayn or hasad aren't going to be as severe as sihr in most cases. And I would say, wallahu alam, oftentimes the ayn is going to be something quick, something like a slip. Like we say, jinx in someone. Something quick, simple, bang, done. Versus sihr, whose evil effect is going to be much more long-term and chronic. Wallahu ta'ala alam. That's in brief. Nah.
Someone who says Allahumma barik, they can still have, if it's still in their heart, they say Allahumma barik, it still doesn't count.
Someone who says Allahumma barik, can the ayn still be there, or hasad, etc.? Well, first and foremost is the power of mentioning Allah's name. Bottom line. Even without the proper understanding or the proper intention, just mentioning Allah's name has a power, has an effect. Allah's name being mentioned, period. And in many hadiths like this, as soon as Allah's name is mentioned, this happens. When Allah's name is not mentioned, that happens. Did the person know? Did they mean it? Were they conscious? Bismillah, entering the home. Bismillah, eating the food. Bismillah, being intimate with your wife. Bismillah, shooting the arrow when you're hunting, etc., etc., etc. So there's a power that we don't understand and we can't get just by mentioning Allah's name. But for argument's sake, one says Allahumma barik and they're totally insincere. They have no intentions of saying what they mean. Maybe. Let alone the fact of how people say it. You can't say, whoa, wow, dang, whoa, mashallah. Many people, they do that. That's an error. Even when you mention Allah's name and you see something that makes you happy or pleases you, still be moderate in your praises. Be moderate in when you compliment someone, even if you say, Tabarakallah, Barakallah alayk, mashallah, etc. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, etc. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. طيب. It's time for the adhan. بعد الأذان, huh?
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح
لا حول ولا قوة.
حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
هذا وارد. هذا وارد. وهذا وارد عن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام. أيوة، من قالها حين يصبح ومن قالها حين يمسي. لا يوجد هذا وهذا. أيوة. أوريك الحديث إن شاء الله. وإياكم. Are there any other questions before we stop? You have the mic?
Elias, do your job, Elias.
How much time is it?
3 more minutes. Till 10.
طيب, Bismillah. First question is coming from RS from Atlanta, Georgia. Can girls take pics while smiling and showing their face for memories? Can you give the dalil for this? Because my mom will scream and cry if I completely refuse to take family pictures. We've done several classes and lectures just on this topic, an in-depth discussion on taking pictures. Tasweer. Can or can you not take pictures, take a photograph? In brief, if you don't get a chance to go back to those videos, many scholars of Islam, they state that a Muslim can take a picture as long as the content of the picture is halal and as long as the picture taken is moderate and as long as the picture isn't given to someone or accessible for someone to use it or see it in an improper way. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Next question is coming from the Bronx. Initials TA. Can you demonstrate sunnah of how to count tasbih on fingers? Khairan, there's options. It's optional. You make the tasbih with your fingers according to what's easy for you. What's easy for you? Whether that's just the right hand and the left hand, using the lines on your fingers. What's important is the Prophet ﷺ mentioned man sabbaha Allah, and he mentioned the number of times for tasbih, the number of times for tahleel, etc., etc., etc. So keep it simple. Keep it optional. If you want to count with the lines on your hands, you want to count 33 times, 33 times, 33 times until you reach 99 and you say something on the 100th time. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Next question is coming from Jamaica, Queens. Initials SC. My mother wants me to get a haram mortgage for a house. Must I help and pay off the monthly payment after she gets the mortgage, or can I refuse to show that I'm against this? If you believe and if you know, if you feel that the mortgage is haram, don't deal with it. Tell your mother why you don't want to deal with it, why you don't want to help out with it. Khalas. Remove yourself from that house and from that situation. If you know that it's a haram mortgage, don't pay it off. Don't deal with it. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Question is coming from initials MS from Farawaniya, Kuwait. Glad to know that you will be Jazakallah khairan. RS, Atlanta, Georgia. Is it okay to play a video game that has female characters wearing tight pants while avoiding looking at their legs as much as possible? Asking as a female. Stay away from that, inshallah ta'ala. Da' ma yuribuka. You have doubt, do without. HA from Philly, PA. Salam alaikum mufti. If a Shia curses Abu Bakr, Umar, or Uthman, would they be considered a kafir? There lies no is slandering and disrespecting those whom Allah Azza wa Jalla used to support and spread and protect Islam, then they have been forsaken by Allah and conquered by shaitan. Leave them be. Don't argue with them. Don't deal with them. Don't involve yourself with them, period. As far as the details with regards to is a Shia Muslim and non-Muslim, those who slander Aisha, slander the Sahaba, are they non-Muslims? In their details with regards to when and if and when they become kuffar because of that aqidah. But I will say this. Many people, they think and they feel is that that's the only difference between Sunni Muslim and Shia Muslim. And that's wrong. And that's counter propaganda. Counter propaganda. They spread and teach and tell the people the only difference between us and you is we believe is that the leadership of the Muslims should have been in the Prophet's line. And the foreign person, non-Muslim or ignorant Muslim who hears that says, oh, well, you know, it's really not that bad. For real, for real. Abu Bakr is the caliph or Ali is the caliph? Ali is the Prophet ﷺ's relative, his family member, etc., etc., etc. Why not? Ali should be the caliph. But it's not that simple. And it's not that easy. And for them to reach that conclusion that Ali radiallahu anhu was supposed to be there are 50 other introductions that weren't mentioned to you. They lied, they hid, they cheated Ali, they fought against Ali. Ali was the best, etc., 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 etc. And those are fundamental core issues with Quran and Sunnah, let alone what they believe about Allah and the Qadr and the Quran and Jibreel and the unseen, etc., etc., etc. So don't think that it's just that simplistic. It's an issue of potato. You know, Abu Bakr's the caliph, Ali's the caliph, and then that's it. It's not that simple. Trust me. It's not that easy. It's far deeper than that. And in most cases, most wars, most civil wars, you'll find that the simplistic answer that you were taught about in school is only a piece of the real fight. It's much deeper than that. And from that is American history. An example of this, the Civil War, Union versus the Confederates. You think they fought just because of slavery? That's it? The North were fighting to free the slaves, and the South were fighting to keep the slaves. That's the lie you've been told in school. But it's much far deeper than that, why they fought and killed each other. It's deeper than that. And if it was only that simple, it wouldn't be as bad. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Next question is coming from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Initials RB. Does one have to make wudu after changing his child's diaper, or in the case where does he or she health care, family, etc., etc., etc.? It's the safest thing to do, but it's not necessarily mandatory. And the scholars of Islam, they have different details with regards to touching your private part or touching someone else's private part, and is the wudu broken? So the safest thing to do is to make the wudu if you touch someone else's private area, even if it isn't in a lustful or sexual manner. The safest thing to do. Avoid the difference of opinion. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Question is coming from Atlanta, Georgia. Initials KK. Assalamu alaikum. Imam Mufti. Will we still have to wudu and ghusl in Jannah, or are we in a continuous state of purity? Jazakallahu khairan. Allah tells us is that the wives of Jannah are purified. Mutahhara. They're cleansed. The Prophet ﷺ tells us that the people of Jannah, they don't urinate, they don't excrete, they don't defecate, etc. So there are certain acts of worship that are done in Jannah, and we stick to that which is mentioned. That which isn't mentioned, the default is that Jannah is a place of reward and not a place of working for the reward. Allah surely knows best. It's time for the adhan. We'll stop here. Sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad.